Thank you for joining us. You're here for Communication Redefined, Building a Truly Engaged Workforce. I'm Logan with Beekeeper. Our presenters today. So for this webinar, we have Micaiah Brown, Corporate Director of People and Culture at MakeReady. We have Dan Waite, Senior Vice President, People and Culture at MakeReady. Payo Kumar, Customer Success Manager, and Andrada, VP of Hospitality, is going to be our moderator today and take us through all the great topics. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to kick it off talking a little bit about frontline disconnect and some of the costs associated to your business, how you're going to address that frontline disconnect, top employee engagement tactics. MakeReady's got a ton of great nuggets that you can take away and implement, and then tackling change management. And this is all to help you build a truly engaged workforce. We'll kick it all off with a Q&A. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Andrada, and she's going to kick it off with cost frontline disconnect. Thanks, Andrada.
Thank you very much, Logan. Hello, everyone. To set the stage, here are some challenges that we see when it comes to employee engagement. Number one, unclear work expectations and insufficient enablement. And this is about not training and not communicating properly with new hires from day one, and continuing to neglect learning and development as a long-term part of their journey. Number two is insufficient recognition for a job well done. Research shows, and I'm sure most of us are aware, that staff perform better and companies have better results when staff feel their work is valued. And number three, without training, recognition, service quality suffers. And poor service drives low morale, and the whole performance sinks even further. And this becomes a poor service cycle. These employee engagement challenges have created a gap between the needs of the business and the ability to provide solutions for the hourly employees to do their best work. And we call this frontline disconnect. For most companies, current practices aren't cutting it when it comes to connecting and engaging with their employees, finding and retaining talent, and providing them with the resources they need to do great work. Frontline work is already really hard, and the reality of this disconnect costs businesses real money. According to a recent Gallup report, employees who are not engaged can cost their company the equivalent of 18% of their annual salary. And we know that in some frontline organizations, the disengagement rate is between 60 to 80%. So these numbers can really add up into big, expensive problems. And actually, I was curious to calculate what the number would be for a location with 100 employees, taking 60% disengagement, 18% of an average salary, which I considered 40,000, and the cost for 100 employees was over 400,000 a year. That's money that could be used differently, I would say. This frontline disconnect is not easy to spot because this is how we have been doing business. So it is built in the way we operate. And here we try to highlight some of the major areas to watch out for. Number one, and the most obvious one, if employees have a poor experience and are disengaged, they oftentimes leave. Current turnover in hospitality is around 70 to 80%. And this is huge when experts say that 15 to 20% is actually a healthy annual turnover rate. Number two, if employees are disengaged, their performance will be subpar. And this results in a lot of internal issues, but ultimately impacts the guest satisfaction, the upsell, cross-sell opportunities, which in the long run means lost revenue. Number three, if we look just internally on the impact of ineffective cross-team and cross-departmental collaboration, this means that there will be a lot of time wasted on admin tasks that do not bring a lot of value to the overall operation. An example is communicating schedules. Do managers really have to call everyone on their team to tell them about changes in schedules, or print the schedule each time there's a change, which is every day, twice a day, and post it in 3 different locations? Is this why we hire them? Most likely not, but they have to do it. And lastly, the effect of not following proper procedures and regulations can mean hefty fines or penalties. Compliance risks are expensive and something absolutely no business wants to find themselves in. However, not all hope is lost. By understanding the cost of frontline disconnect, leaders can at least try to address the underlying challenges and enable and empower their employees to deliver great, impactful work. This cannot be solved in one day or even 1 year, but it starts with admitting the problem and starting to put the necessary programs in place. And that's the reason we're here today. I'd like to introduce one of these organizations that is doing just that, MakeReady. Dan and Maikia, thank you very much for being here today on behalf of MakeReady. Dan, would you like to start by briefly introducing your organization?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, Beekeeper, for asking us to partner with you on this. We've had a great partnership so far. MakeReady is a very unique hotel company. We have 11 hotels in Denver, Dallas, Houston, Nashville, Charleston, Savannah, Maine, New Orleans, and Columbus. So kind of spread out throughout the United States. And we have 23 different restaurants, 1,600 employees. And, you know, I think the thing that makes MakeReady unique is someone coined the term that our hotels are thoughtfully indigenous, that we're truly connected to the communities that we're in and the people that we serve there. So we plot how we want to be part of the community and pay homage to the history of the city and the hotels that we're in, where we assemble the people and invite people in, and then how we pull that through in our operations through partnering with local vendors and really being a great local community partner. So I think that's what makes Ready unique and what makes us interesting to be a part of.
Thank you, Dan, for the introduction. They're great hotels. Actually look forward to staying at one soon. And I just to go in, to get to the meat of our presentation here or interview. I've been talking about the frontline disconnect, but I would like to understand how it all started for MakeReady. What opportunity did you see to better connect your workforce, Dan?
Yeah, I think, as a growing company, just in the last year, we've added 3 additional hotels. And so when we were a smaller company, we could, interact with all of the team members on a regular basis. And, as you have 11 hotels around the country, what starts to happen is at best, there's just one-way communication that we would put out a quarterly newsletter with updates on what was happening. And so there was a disconnect. There wasn't really an opportunity for the team members to engage with us on a regular basis, and vice versa. As things were happening in real time, we weren't always able to communicate those out. And I think the biggest eye opener for us is when we transitioned to a hotel in Houston. As we went around and visited all of our hotels, a large portion of our team members didn't know that we had a new hotel in Houston, which was a big eye opener for us of, we needed staffing, we needed everyone to spread the word, and how do we get that out to the team? So there was disconnect there. And then also just within the operations, and I think we'll talk about that in a bit, but, when there was changes from, a group, that their meeting space would change because they were scheduled outside and it's raining and now they're changing inside. At best, they would be able to communicate with the banquet team and the people at the front desk or the bellman, where people were coming in and asking them, hey, where is our meeting going to be because it's raining out. They wouldn't always know previously. So we saw a big disconnect just in the operations as well.
And so what made you decide on Beekeeper?
Well, fortunately, I go back a ways with you guys, and I had used Beekeeper at my previous company. And I think what it allowed us to do is to really, it allowed me the exposure to see how to use it effectively. And I know we'll talk about it, but I say if you can use Instagram, you can use Beekeeper. It's really that easy. It's obviously so much deeper than that, but the ease of use for our team members was the biggest draw. That, like I said, if you can post a picture on Instagram, you can use Beekeeper. And so that was one of them, the ease of use and just how it's embraced by the team. And Maikia will share with you some ideas of what we did on how to get the team to use Beekeeper.
So you mentioned top-down communication, informing employees of what was happening in different parts of the business. Why should companies go beyond top-down communication? What has your experience been?
Yeah, I think it's the things that I mentioned previously of operational things that are happening in the moment. If we have a VIP checking in, the reality is usually the front desk or someone sitting behind a computer knows, but the team members who are dealing with that VIP don't necessarily know. When we have a group change or something that comes in, or a schedule change, or we have anything, it's communicating in real time. And vice versa, there's so many amazing experiences that our team members have that often we don't know about. That, someone has a great stay or a great interaction with their room attendant and they write a thank you note and give them a gratuity. A lot of times leadership doesn't know about that. So what this does too is that it gives them the opportunity to snap a picture of the thank you note, share it with the team, and we have this two-way dialogue. And the teams can communicate with each other or comment on posts, or and so it's really it's not just top down or bottom up. It's a 360 communication tool where everyone can communicate with each other, with their peers, with their leaders, with their team members. So it's really a collaborative communication platform.
So how did that work for you? I mean, you talked about, being more like social media. You mentioned similar to Instagram, easy to use, so in that space, but then also really useful on the job. How did you bring these two together and implement them for your organization and the different teams?
Yeah, Maikia can talk to you about the implementation, because she spearheaded this project for us. But it was twofold, really making sure that it was meaningful. So we're working on having SOPs that are living, breathing documents in Beekeeper. So if there's a question on how to do something, if there's links to our career site. So previously, team members wouldn't know the opportunities that are available within the company. Now they can click on the careers button in Beekeeper and it launches to our page of our open positions. Our benefits, we would do a great job on open enrollment and trying to get benefits information out. Now there's actually a link to our benefits so that team members have instant access to everything our people and culture directors have at the hotels, that they're able to access that. So if they have a question or anything, they're able to just access information on real time.
Thank you for sharing. I'm now going to move to Maikia. So your organization had a vision and you had some challenges that you wanted to address. Next, you had to engage your employees on the platform. So Maikia, can you talk about some of your employee engagement tactics on Beekeeper?
Of course. The most important thing for us was how we were going to launch it. And I think that started with great success with our partnership with Pyle, who is our customer success manager. We really focused on training, content strategy, and rollout strategy sessions, and we actually customized those to our timeline, as well as our onboarding goals that we had. I think those directly impacted our success when we introduced Beekeeper to everyone in our organization. We also were really thoughtful about how we wanted to roll out Beekeeper. So we decided to go with a Beekeeper Roadshow and hosted in-person rollout sessions. And that provided our team members with the opportunity to ask questions in real time. We were also able to enroll our team members in multiple ways. The two ways that we chose for enrollment was via printed paper invites, as well as using the QR code, which was nice because we were able to generate those through the Beekeeper app on our cell phones. And then we were also just very thoughtful to make sure that we had their experience to be very fun by just having music, food, drinks, and of course, we took plenty of photos during those sessions where we were able to post immediately. Other quick engagement wins that we had was that we allowed the teams to do challenges, to go back to their favorite parts of the hotel and take selfies and then post them on Beekeeper. And then throughout the course of the rollout, we also hosted other challenges that it assisted us with immediate engagement. So I believe in doing those, it actually brought us closer to our onboarding activation goal.
And Maikia, I'll just add to that. Sorry to jump in here, but I think you working with our people and culture directors at each of the hotels, you can see how we kind of got people excited about it. If you saw the decorations on the previous screens, there was bees everywhere. It was really kind of a bee themed. And I think that was another thing of really driving that. I think, MyKia working with our people and culture directors on theming the events and making them fun and interactive. So anyhow, just wanted to give a shout out from that picture there. I think captures some of that.
It does. It was a good time. I miss it. Another thing that we've done to create reoccurring content on topics that happen either weekly or monthly in our company. One of them is a Wellness Wednesday, and that is done weekly, where one of my colleagues is actually able to highlight important wellness initiatives. But with doing that, we also noticed that solved a challenge that we had, which was reaching everyone in our organization to showcase the benefits that we offer. We felt like, why not take that time to bring that to life? So we love that she does that every Wednesday, and people look out for it. Of course, in MakeReady, culture and our guiding principles are very important to us. So I ended up creating the MakeReady Way post, and I try to highlight our guiding principles on a weekly basis. And I feel that this has allowed us to ensure that our team members are going to live by our principles and then continue to motivate them and become proud team members. We also created a guild stream for the team that was attending our annual conference. And basically what Guild is every year we host an annual conference where we gather with our senior leaders throughout the company to learn. We share ideas and best practices, and then also we create new initiatives. And then we also include wellness activations during that conference. So we feel where Beekeeper Stream really made it a success is it actually allowed us to keep them updated on transportation, our agendas for the 3-day conference, speaker information. And I think another great thing to point out that Beekeeper allowed us was to click on labels. So we actually created labels, which gave them quick access to specific content. Also throughout the 3 days, we were able to send out polls to the team, which was really fun and engaging. And it also gave us an opportunity to announce the winners of the polls throughout that event.
Mikey, I think the other real success of that, just to jump in for a second, because I think the real success for that for the people who are watching is what it did. The ulterior motive is it got all of our leaders using Beekeeper. And so you're seeing messages from all of the senior leadership team throughout the company and all of the executive team and home office team all engaged in Beekeeper, which kind of sets the tone for the rest of the company. So I think that was another huge success of that, Makia.
It was a lot of great photos, and it was just so nice to have all the information that we needed prior to the event as well as after. So it's a great source of communication and information that we was able to hold on to. Another way that we did partner with Beekeeper was to have a photo booth at Guild, which was an absolute hit. I remember there was a point where the line was so long where people were just so eager to take their pictures at the photo booth. And of course, we had a lot of laughs with that, as you can see on the photos. It's probably one of my favorites at Guild. And then another thing we were trying to think of is how do we end Guild with Beekeeper? And so that's when we decided to create a Guild survey, because we really wanted to connect with each leader and find out how can we enhance as well as move towards digitizing our department documents in Beekeeper.
And I was able to support MakeReady with implementing this survey at Guild. Since leaders from all locations were in one room, this was the perfect time for Mikea and her team to connect with leaders and learn more about their operational processes happening day to day at the hotels and restaurants. This was really important at this point in their journey, because in order to drive further usage and keep team members interested, it is crucial to take the guessing out of the game and learn from the front line to understand their challenges and provide tailored solutions. And this survey gave them lots of insight on what processes could be improved through Beekeeper. And MakeReady had the opportunity to share this survey at an in-person event, but actually a lot of our beekeeper customers send out similar surveys throughout the life cycle of the partnership to ensure relevant information and processes continue to be on Beekeeper.
These are some great strategies that the three of you shared. And if I were to summarize them, what I heard was onboarding was really critical. Second was making sure you have a content calendar or some reoccurring content happening every Wednesday, or the guiding principles, also giving people directions on what is okay to post, what's not okay, encouraging them to share content. Third, it was engaging the leaders because they are really critical when change happens. And fourth, what you, Paul, just added was the tailoring the solution to their needs, understanding what the actual pains are in operations and the different teams, and just trying to see how Beekeeper can help with those. So these are great. Now we all know change is hard, no matter how small. So I would like to conclude our conversation talking about change management tips. Dan, how has adopting new technology been for MakeReady?
You know, it's been great. And I think in any new technology, it's really got to be about ease of use and for people to really understand and appreciate the value for themselves of how does this benefit me. And I think for team members, it's really about being engaged, that they know what's happening. We post our daily stand-up notes that we, you know, at our 9 o'clock meeting, the notes that we go over in that meeting are posted, you know, with new hires are posted. And I just want to back up for a second, because when Logan and Andrada initially approached me to speak at this event, I had asked Pyle if we could have Pyle join, because I don't think we would have been as successful without the engagement that we had throughout the entire process. And Mikea can attest to that. I think they were on the phone almost daily, and but I don't think we would have been nearly as successful without your help, Pyle. So in front of everyone, thank you for all that you did to help us drive this. I think the technology was you know, we partnered with another company at the same time on recognition, and I think that's you know, fantastic that we were able to integrate 2 different platforms at the same time. And there was a kind of a seamless integration on that. And I know we might talk about that in a minute, but I did want to just mention that when people see how they benefit from the technology, they're often much more engaged in participating in it. If they don't see the value, it's going to be rolling it uphill. So I think all of the activations and things that we talked about with engagement really helped that.
And you mentioned something about new hires as well. I know that you were worried at the beginning that, okay, you do all this effort, you do the onboarding, and then what happens after? So how do you keep the momentum? And I think this is a great way, actually, with your new hires. You want to talk about that more?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's it serves 2 purposes, right? Or multiple purposes with posting all of our new hire announcements on Beekeeper. One, for the new hire, they're instantly introduced to everyone, either at their hotel or within MakeReady. And so of course you're being tagged and you want to go in and see, so you want to be part of it. It's like when someone tags you on a picture in Facebook or Instagram or whatever, it makes you want to go look at it. And I think what it also does is it creates the culture that this is just what we do at MakeReady. So it's not in implementing a new technology as much as it's just part of what we do at MakeReady. So we do the new hire announcements, like Mikea mentioned. We do the Wellness Wednesdays. We do the MakeReady Way. We do things throughout, you know, each day. You know, I'm working with my executive team as they travel to all the hotels to make sure that we post a picture when they're visiting the hotels, so that the teams can see, you know, the leaders of the company that have visited their hotels. So, you know, I think it just becomes part of the culture and the way we do things.
So what have been some of the biggest hurdles that you've encountered during the implementation?
Yeah, I think we had huge success at the beginning, right? I think the rollout at the hotels, I think there was a few people that, you know, that kind of said, well, this is my personal phone. I don't know if I want to load this app on and do business stuff. But I think they pretty quickly felt like the kids on the outside, and everyone wants to be part of what's happening, and so I think some of those fears went away of I don't know about loading this stuff. I think some of the other stuff is the company's face is kind of the rules of engagement, right? Of like, are they responsible for checking beekeeper in their off time, or do they when can they check their phone when they're at work, and when is it okay? Because I think most companies struggled with you can't be on your phone while you're at work, and I always tell companies, listen, your employees are on their phones anyhow, so at least make it productive. Ours is just not in front of a guest. It can't interfere with the guest experience unless it's a guest asking a question about where something is, and the team member instantly has access to it on their phone by saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, that meeting has been moved to another meeting room." So again, I think with those things that companies are struggling with, your team members are on their phones anyhow, just make it productive and make sure that it enhances the guest experience and doesn't take away from it.
Yeah, this is great advice. Thank you, Dan. Now, Makia and Pyle, I know you've been very close to this implementation and change management. So what were some tactics to make the beekeeper rollout easy?
Yes, I think the first one really is the partnership that Pyle and I have had, and we've continued that partnership even after our rollout. I think collaboration was very important to us, and she's done all of that and more. So thank you, thank you. I know I always say it. And then also, we identified key stakeholders by involving our people and culture team prior to the rollout. So I feel that just made it easier, because when we are at a home office, sometimes we don't always get to visit the properties. So it was nice to have our team on site to have the buy-in on the front end. That also allowed them to understand the tool that we were bringing to the company, and it allowed the rollout to be a little bit easier. I also feel like when you have the why beekeeper to share with your leaders and team members, it just makes it more impactful and easier when you're rolling out anything new. But as we were doing our rollout, we noticed that it just instilled a lot of an excitement in our team members, because they understood that this tool is basically be giving to them to use.
So like Andrada mentioned, change management is hard, but not impossible. So another aspect that made MakeReady's rollout easier and successful was that Dan and Makia understood that the frontline disconnect has to be tackled in phases. In the initial onboarding phase, Makia and Dan educated their team and leaders about Beekeeper and guided their organization to change the way they communicated and engaged with each other. In the engage phase, key people and culture stakeholders continue to post exciting new content, and they engage with employees by providing a channel on Beekeeper to gather feedback and encouraged peer-to-peer recognition that allowed team members to naturally come to the platform. Now, the MakeReady team is ready to move into the operate phase, as indicated by the star. In this phase, additional stakeholders such as department leaders and general managers of all their locations will enhance their current processes, such as departmental checklists, new hire onboarding experience, schedule coordination, digitized incident reports, maintenance requests, and much more. All of these digital processes combined will improve their workplace efficiency. And once workplace efficiency is improved, their company performance will also be improved in that transform phase. This is where the challenge with the frontline disconnect will be minimized and will positively impact employee and guest happiness and revenue. 3 key metrics for MakeReady and many other customers in the hospitality industry.
Thank you, Paul, for sharing our typical journey. And kudos to you and the customer success team that it is indeed, we did not intend to have you on this webinar initially, but because, really you have impacted the way, they implemented Beekeeper. Dan was adamant that you are here. And actually, I remember Dan in another time we talked to you, when we asked you what advice do you have for the audience, you said, pay extra to get Pyle. but we have great customer success team that's really helpful and they drive the engagement. Thank you. And thank you, Maikia, Pyle, and Dan for joining us today and sharing from your experience in building a truly engaged workforce. And to recap here what we heard, it's go beyond top-down and social content and make it useful on the job, make this an operational tool. Then implement strategies to bring your workforce onto the platform and embrace change, involve your leaders, and make it easy for everyone to start using it. And now I will pass it over to Logan for the Q&A section.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrada. Yes, I think we've had a ton of great stuff here. So what we like to do now, we'll ask a few questions. We've had a handful come in through the audience. So I want to get started with the first one that's for the MakeReady team. It says, you are very engaged internally, and I love to see this. Do you feel like that is portrayed externally to people who are looking to join MakeReady, more on the hiring side? Does Beekeeper help you do this?
I can take that one, and I would say absolutely. And you can tell we're interviewing for a couple of key roles within MakeReady now, and it's fascinating as I talk to people. They say, boy, all of the interviews have been so consistent that you guys are aligned with what you're looking for and what MakeReady is, which is not always the case in companies, right? And I think Beekeeper is one of those tools that our guiding principles are always at the forefront. So absolutely, I think it translates definitely to our guests, and I think definitely for candidates that are interviewing with MakeReady, of feeling like they're engaged from the very beginning and that the team's aligned. And one of the things I didn't mention, I know Maikia will be attending the Frontline Success Summit with you guys in November, and I hope to. I'm just working out. I have a European trip planned, and I'm going to try and plan around it. So hopefully, I will be at the summit as well.
Great. Another question that came through is, our organization wants participation to be 100% voluntary, including managers. Managers not being on means they are posting in their streams. How do we get the managers moving on this so it doesn't become an HR only tool? We want the managers and presented on how this would help them rather than just be another task. So to kind of summarize, it's how do you get managers to want to be on the platform?
Yeah, I think it starts from the beginning, right? And I would question whether it's the right team. If you have managers that say, I don't want to participate in that, it's basically, I don't want to participate in the company. That being said, I think they just need to understand the value of it, of like, hey, you can put your schedule out on there and you can change it as needed. It goes out to your entire team, or you can put your outlet hours on there if you're a restaurant manager or whatever, that would educate the rest of the team members in the hotel or in the company of what hours are open. And I think with anything, I learned early in my career, you start with WIFM of what's in it for me. And if you can explain and the leaders can explain what's in it for them, then I think it'll go a long way. If they think that it's just a HR initiative, I head up people and culture, but I always say if anything becomes an HR initiative, it's dead in the water. If it's not part of the operations and how we operate as a company, and if it doesn't help ease the operation, it's going to die a natural death.
That's good. The WIFM is always a good way to go. This person was, kudos to MakeReady on successful Beekeeper launch. Our rollout was virtually identical to yours. And yet we're struggling to get our team members engaged. Do you have further suggestions? How do you approach language barriers? And we're also struggling to keep leaders engaged and lead by example. So you have comments on.
I'll go in, then Maikia, you can jump in if you like, but I think I love the translate tool that's on Beekeeper, that it's basically whatever is set to their phone. They can, and Pyle, you can correct me on the technical side of that, but I love that they can see all of the content in their native language. They can post in their native language, and then the translation tool translates it back. So, I think that's definitely, one of those of getting the communication out there to everyone. And I think the thing for getting leaders or keeping the engagement is some of the initiatives that Mikea talked about, of that we have Wellness Wednesdays, that we have, we have new hires in there. We have the MakeReady Way. We have all of the announcements that are going out in there. And again, I think it's important that they're not all led by people in culture or by HR. And so we've done an active role. I'm actually working with all of our managing directors right now on a competition for the managing directors on engagement for their hotels. And so I do think at the hotels that if it's not, or if you're not in the hotel business, at any company, if it's not driven by the leader, it's going to be an uphill battle. Our teams will follow what the GMs or managing directors are paying attention to. And so if the GMs are on there, posting, and the leaders are on there posting, people are going to want to see it. And so I would be lying if I said it wasn't it's got to be constant engagement on both parts, right? It's got to be a constant engagement on our part as well as the team to keep them engaged. And after some time, with my former company, it just became part of the culture and it was second nature. So we didn't have to drive it so hard to try and get engagement. But I do think in the first year or two, it takes a concentrated effort to get people on it and using it. And the last thing I'll say on that is just, I think in the beginning there was the idea of, is it beekeeper worthy? Is it worth, or is this important enough to post on Beekeeper? And and I think that's something that you have to let people know that everything is beekeeper worthy on there.
Great. And kind of a follow-on question to that was asked with getting people, encouraging them to use the app was, did you offer any incentives during onboarding to encourage people to get the Beekeeper app and use it?
We didn't use any sort of incentive to get people enrolled. We kind of use the approach that all the cool kids are doing it, and if you want to be one of the cool kids, you'll log on as well. And I think you have early adopters, and I think it's really embracing those early adopters of people that kind of see the technology, see the potential with it, and really embracing them and encouraging them. And we've seen that at the hotels. We have one hotel, the Noel in Nashville, that really took it on. Their goal was they wanted to get to 100%, and they're not quite at 100%, but I think they're over 90% activations and like 84% engagement on there. And I think that's the other thing that we didn't really talk about, is that at any given time, I can log on and see where we are with activations and engagement by hotel. And so we can always help support the hotels that might be struggling with that and seeing what the challenges are. And, they might have specific things where they've had a turnover in leadership or whatever that we can jump in and help them. And usually Mikea will jump in and help get them up and running and give them the motivation to get the engagement going again.
I was going to add to that as well. We also just recently created our department. So now each property can even check activation on and engagement by specific departments. So they can target that way as well, which was great.
Great. So we did have a few more questions come in, but we are running at time. So what we're going to do is we've documented all these questions and we will send this out to you in a second email. And just to kind of close out today from everything that we talked about, we had some mention of the Frontline Success Summit. The link is in the chat. There was a question about what can we anticipate from that. And I'll just give a quick summary of why you should attend. It's going to be a day packed with customer stories, how people engage their workforce and tackle business challenges. And then there's a workshop where you'll do hands-on and take what you've learned in the sessions back with you to your office to be able to implement in your company. And so it'll be a lot of the types of tactics that we heard today, but you will walk away being able to implement something at your company. And we talked a lot about Beekeeper, it's a all-in-one solution that brings three pillars: productivity, comms and collaboration, and employee services. And you don't necessarily have to take it from us. You heard MakeReady talk about it. We have thousands of other customers that you can listen to as well. And just to close it off, I want to thank everybody for attending. This has been a great webinar. It means a lot that you came to truly engage your workforce. Micaiah, Dan, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us. Pyle, thank you very much. Andrada, you're a great host, and thank you to the audience for sticking around and hearing all the great tactics they had. You'll get a recording, and we look forward to seeing you in Nashville. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.